Okay, we are live. Hi, I am Amanda Marino, the owner of Next Level Recovery Associates, and I'm here with Matt Williams, Chief Heart Officer.
You. What's going on?
Just making sure that I got this going on. Hold on, because I have multiple
Yep,
streaming platforms. So, Matt, if you want to introduce yourself, in the meantime, while I figure out and make sure that I'm doing all this stuff right.
absolutely. Well, my name is Matt Williams, and I am Chief Heart Officer of Next Level Recovery Coaching Associates. I'm grateful to be here. Been down in South Florida here since 2009, coming up on 14 years sobriety, and yeah, just looking forward to connecting with as many people and sharing what we do and how we help others, and kind of the process of everything that goes on with Next Level.
Yeah, and you've been with us how long?
This is where I always kind of like time flies. So I remember sitting down and doing a podcast with you, you telling me you were starting the company, and I said, well, anytime you need someone, or if you're looking to hire someone, let me know. And I think it was like 7 months later,
Yeah,
we
right.
had an opportunity. Yeah, like 7 months later, we had an opportunity, and he gave me an opportunity to work with one of the clients, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. So been
Yeah.
been
Almost
stoked ever since.
You've been out here almost since day one.
Yeah, yeah. So obviously it was crazy to obviously I've known you a long time. Or maybe it's not obvious. I've known Amanda a long time. Kind of in my earlier days, you've been sober longer than me, but we met in when I was working I was new. I was working in a treatment facility that I had gone through that I was greatly passionate about, and kind of connected to you because you were in the same space. You've been in the space a long time,
Yeah.
and always kind of stayed in touch and knew who each other were, and have similar friends, and similar people, and just kind of linked up, and it just kind of made sense. So yeah, super awesome. I know we have chats that pop in here. Are you seeing chats?
I do. I see this. Like, all I'll do is I'll highlight ones like this, so you can
Oh,
see that.
that's nice.
So
Cool.
if people have questions or want to comment or anything, I will highlight your stuff. And if you're
Cool.
not following Matt, what's your Instagram, Matt? And how can people find you on LinkedIn like that?
You can find me at MWAR Williams, MWAR Williams, which is my first initial of my name, my first name Matthew, the three first letters of my middle name, which is Warren, and Williams, which is my last. So MWAR Williams, because there's a lot of Matt Williams out there. It's
Yes.
a
Well, I thought
very
the war was
common
like,
name.
I thought it was because of your like warrior like spirit. That's why you had war.
I mean, that's a
That's
great story to tell. I like that. That
yeah.
works for me too. That works for me too.
So Matt, like Matt's always been someone who's been a super big inspiration to me. Since I met you, I remember meeting you in this, you were admissions representative, and you were working as a trainer at Slash with, Joe, and you were this dream of this frozen protein bar, and you were telling me all about it. And I just like vibed with your energy, like from the day that I met you. Like I remember meeting you, and I met
Yeah.
a lot of people. I don't remember meeting everyone, but you just had a passion, and like I knew you were going to do great things, and I've got to watch you and your wife build like this beautiful empire, and really like create amazing product and amazing energy and sense of community. And like that's one of the things that has always like kept me coming back to more of Matt Williams, you know what I mean, and keeping you in my life, because you are just you're Mr. Community. Like if you want to know anything about Delray recovery fitness, come to Matt Williams.
I appreciate that. Yeah, no, I've been super fortunate. The community has been really good to me, to my wife and I, actually, in the start of our business and the growth of our business, as well as facilitating workouts. I used to work at several different places that gave me opportunities, and we were able to open this space here. Kind of like you call it Central Boca, right? It's not fully east, it's not fully west. So Central Boca, right here in Clintmore Road, and it's been really cool to expand and really cool to grow and share our story with anybody that's willing to listen to it, as a source of strength, experience, strength, and hope, that anything is possible. I was a former educator and coach, and worked really hard and went and got degrees and all this stuff, but meanwhile still kind of doing my thing, which was still drinking and drugging on the side, and eventually kind of came to a head in 2010 when I got sober, and essentially started over at the age of 28. And it feels weird sitting here saying I'm 42 years old, and
I know.
this
It was you.
right? Like this year, going to be 43, and it's just kind of crazy. So, awesome journey. I've heard so many great stories and great inspirational people over my time that have created amazing businesses, have created amazing experiences, I went from nothing to having amazing families and homes and jobs and careers, and everything that they find successful or whatever you find successful, and just a lot of people that have really thrived in sobriety, and the flip side of that is that there's a lot of people out there that still struggle, and obviously with the great pandemic, if you will, that happened, where people kind
While
of
while we were building the business. Yeah, that happens.
right, correct. A lot of people struggled, and it just seems like a lot of people crave that connection, crave that you know community, crave that fellowship of how do I get back on track? How do I change something physically, emotionally, spiritually? And there's so many different ways to do it. And I think kind of the way we do things and the opportunity to coach people, like they have their program, they have their team of people that help them, and then it's like getting back to life and life on track. And those are one of the things that I learned early on. And I think it's a struggle when you work so hard for something and you build something up, and based off my decisions I wasn't able to do those things anymore, and
Right.
kind of having to start over, and really say, okay, like this is something eventually you can get back into. Like I thought I'd never be in a classroom again, I'd never teach again, I'd never coach again. And it just took several years to kind of figure that out and get to a point where I was like, okay, now I have this opportunity to platform for physical fitness, for creating community events, whether it be, doing an ice barrel, doing a workout, a charity workout, partnering with other local organizations like a temperance training that host free
Mhm.
workouts for people that are coming into, you know, sobriety and maybe don't have money to go to the gym, because everything
Yeah.
obviously now is so much more expensive. So just really partnering with great people that are doing great things. And, it's really, a blessing, right? To be surrounded by so many awesome people and
Yeah. Yeah. If
kind
you
of
can't,
doing what we do.
I'm in Matt's office. If you can't tell, he's next door in his wife's office. So, because we need to meet up in person, because, we could definitely talk a million times a week, but like I was supposed to come last week and we were supposed to do this last week. So, but I was not feeling well. So we moved to here. So we're meant to be here today. So one thing I actually don't know about you, Matt. So when you were a teacher and you were coaching, so you have a master's degree in education and you have another one in something else, correct? Double.
Yeah, I'm counseling. Yeah, I essentially wanted to go from like the education point to like a lot of people go into like the administration side of things. And I had such a kick-ass guidance counselor growing up that like my brothers even had, that when he retired, I was like, man, like this guy had like such a great job, help people get into college and help people find direction and help people, guided them into certain things that they were good at that maybe they, weren't really sure of. So I think, that always kind of applied to me, and wanting to do more and wanting to give back, and being at essentially having a platform now where I can do the things that I love, and I have a business that runs, and I have a gym that runs, and I get to drop in on other people's businesses and just kind
Yeah.
of see how they run. And I've had a lot of experience, like early sobriety, kind of a challenge because I had to start over, right? And you have to find something that you can do, something that allows you to focus on recovery,
Gotta-
focus on rebuilding your life, and just kind of get to that point where you level up and just
Next levels.
continue, right, and continue to grow, hopefully in the direction of what you really are passionate about and what you're really excited about, and what really life is all about, right? Is finding something that you love and hopefully doing it and getting paid well to do it, and allows you to support life that you're essentially started over or rebuilding.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting, like what you said, like, so you have this experience, this education and experience with teaching and counseling. And then now you are essentially teaching and counseling, but in a different perspective, right? You're teaching
Yeah.
on stages when you do, speaking engagements. Matt is an amazing presenter and is speaking all over the country. And hopefully, you can for us too. And then also, is working with, you get these guys, you have a caseload of guys that are polar opposite of you, right? And you're like the best thing that can happen in their life, because they're not. Matt is, I actually have turned to Matt in the past few months, and more committing to it now, of helping me get more structured and more disciplined, because Matt is that guy. Matt is up at 4 a.m. and, does the thing and has the most, and travels and does all these things, but manages to have this consistency and this discipline, this schedule. And that's something that I've had many times in my life and in my recovery journey, but has been harder for me to kind of get on board with the way the past year's been. So I have Matt helping me personally, but he has a slew of guys that he has had long term, some of them shorter term, that really are not self starters, that are kind of, more, not what is more avoidant to life, to stepping up, like for many different reasons, for their backgrounds. And you're just such a gift and blessing in their life,
Thank you. Appreciate that.
What's your favorite thing? I mean, I know that it challenges you to work with people like this, but it also invigorates you when you see the wins. And like with some of these people, the wins aren't like what we're used to, right? Some of the wins are smaller. If you could speak to some of that, I'd love that.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with a variety of clients from the ages of 17, 18, all the way to up in their 50s, and you kind of have to. You hear this all the time. You kind of have to meet people where they're at, and really take a look at, right. I even have a coach that suggested, he's like, everybody knows where they want to go, and here's where they want to go, and here's how we get there. But then you have to figure out where you are right now, and a lot of that takes a lot of baby steps, as you mentioned, where it's little wins along the way, getting a job, applying to that job, being in that job, being accountable to people that you're working for. And then once you kind of get the basics figured out, like, all right, now I have a job, I have a schedule. Now, where do I plug in other things like fitness? Where do I plug in wellness? Where do I plug in my recovery? And obviously, recovery comes first, because without recovery, a lot of those things, it's a common term. Like, anything you place before recovery goes away. So just finding that balance, and then it comes in forms of basics like going food shopping, and they don't really teach that in schools, and like the old things, like from way before I even was in high school, like the home ec, and like just kind of the basics of how do I plan meals, how do I eat properly, how do I get to a workout, how do I get to show up for my work, how do I get the proper sleep, how do I
maintain chores. That's one thing too. A lot of them struggle with, like laundry and keeping your room clean. Like it's some basic stuff for people like us at this point. But like I had to relearn all that stuff again, and some of them struggle more than others with that. And you're so great with that.
Yeah, and it's really great to be challenged by some of the clients that I've gotten to work with, because how good it is on the other side of once you accomplish those things, and once you see those little wins or something click, where you're like, if you keep putting this off, like if you're going back to school and you're like, oh, this class, and like I don't want to go to this class, I'm like, well, this is the only time this class is offered, which might mean you have to change your nighttime routine. If you're staying up till 1 or 2 in the morning, getting up for a 7:30 a.m. class isn't something that you're probably going to be able to subscribe to very long. And dropping or getting rid of it, and things happen, but you really have to take that approach where it's just like, this might not fit the lifestyle you're living, and we might have to change or tweak some things in your lifestyle to accomplish the things that you're setting out to do. So it's like, here's my goal, here's what I want to be, I want to have this degree, but all these classes are in the morning and they only offer them. It's, well, we have to change the nighttime routine, we have to get more sleep, we have to fuel ourselves properly so we can show up properly, and we can achieve passing the classes, and we can achieve getting the degree and saying, all right, now I have this degree, where am I going to take that degree?
Right.
And the same thing goes for fitness. It's like, I want to lose weight. Oh, okay, well, here's a lot of ways to do it, and there's a lot of things that you can see on the internet, coaches and things like that, but nothing substitutes for hard work and putting in the effort and the consistency of it. So again, where a lot of people fall off, it's a new year, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Ronnie, thank you very much.
Yeah, Ronnie's a dear friend of mine who lives in Boston. You'll probably meet.
Sweet.
He's runs a companion organization up there.
Awesome.
And yeah, him and his fiance now, and our friend Yanni, we all talk every day in a group text that we call Potato Heads.
I like that.
Ronnie,
so but yeah, it's just those little baby steps and reinforcing it. And there's sometimes people have a setback, and it doesn't revolve around the use of alcohol or drugs, but it revolves around sleeping in, or missing an appointment, or saying one thing and being like, oh, that's not actually true, I didn't do this. It's like, okay, well, why didn't we? What are the motives behind it? Why was the motive to say you did it and then fib or replace that? And it's like, you don't want to let anyone down. And as we're our own toughest critics, and one of the hardest things in sobriety is not beating yourself up. And if something does happen to go wrong, as as a recovering perfectionist, if I have, and I share this all the time, if I have 10 things to do and I do 9 out of 10 right, rather than
Man,
focusing on the 90%, I'm focusing on that one thing I didn't do right and not even celebrating those wins in the process, right? And it's like all we're doing in this process, it's who we become in the process, right? It's who we become as we're doing these things and as we're growing and as we're evolving. And one of the biggest things when people's like, "Oh man, you've changed," it's like, well, I hope so,
yeah,
you
I hope
know,
so
and
too.
you know,
I'm gonna be who I
because
was a year ago.
yeah, I want to evolve and I want to grow and I want to share that with other people that are looking to do the same thing and encourage them. And even when there's a setback, say, setbacks happen. It's
Yeah,
never going to be perfect. It might be a little messy, but
right.
that's what we're here to do.
Yeah, and that's in life. I think that you and I have connected on that. Like we're with myself. I'll speak for myself and with a lot of our clients. Like when I want to improve and I want to implement some more structure, like my first thought is to, oh, let me meet Matt at 5 a.m. Right? Why don't I start by getting up on the days I don't have my kids at 7 for a couple of days? Like, because
Yeah.
I will set my sometimes overthink that I can overextend, and then I historically would beat myself up because I wouldn't meet these benchmarks that I set for myself. They were not realistic, right? And not, I was setting myself up for success, and like that's with our clients. It's like we're trying to set them up for success. We're trying to have them have some small, like long lasting wins, right? We don't want this like superstar overnight that crumbles in a month, And what I'm looking for in my life right now is like consistent growth and change that can be sustainable and that I don't beat myself up on. Because like there was years that like the rigidness and the perfectionism that I had in myself was so unhealthy. I
Yeah.
needed it, I guess, at that time, but like it got to a point where it got dark. And like if I ate something I wasn't supposed to, or if I slept it, I would beat myself up so bad. Like I'm definitely not in that place. And I'm a little too the other way. We're like, I'll leave dishes in the sink. I'll leave beds on. Like I don't want to be like that either. You know what I mean? I want somewhere in the
Right.
middle. So
Sure. Absolutely.
yeah. So
Absolutely.
anything else on that before I move on?
No, I mean that's the thing. It's just like, if you're failing to start or you started and it's the new year and you're already like beating yourself up. Like I had one of my goals. I missed one day and I said, okay, I missed one day. This week I'm gonna try. And like I love it. Like this year is I got this called the big ass calendar and it
I was
breaks
just
down the
about that.
entire year and it shows each month
Do you have
and
it
it
in the
shows
office or
I
no?
don't. I don't. I posted about it on Instagram. It's at my house in my home office.
Okay, I'm gonna put
Essentially,
look at Matt's Instagram for the big ass calendar.
but
Oh,
yeah,
good.
no, it's really helpful. And then you kind of take a look at it, and it's like, all right, here's week one. What were it's like an inventory process that you do in recovery too. It's like, here's what I did well, and here's what needs a little work. And kind of just constantly going through that, at the end of the week and just saying, all right, here are my wins, here are my things that need work on, here's what I really liked, here's what I wasn't really stoked about. And being true and honest to that, because it's like you never want to force anything, and usually what happens to a lot of people that you know if they miss one thing, they're like, oh, what's the point? And well, the point is, you know dust yourself off and try it again the next day.
Yeah.
And just realize, like, you're never going to be perfect, and that's hard for me to even say right now, because
It's a relief though. When I realized like I didn't have to try, it was like I wasn't even conscious of it. But when I realized how destructive, and I was just like an autopilot of trying to do everything for everyone, showing up to a zillion people's things, like everything at the cost of like myself and being connection with self. Like I did that for so many years, and then it hit me, and I was like, "Holy crap!" Like I cannot do it without drugs and alcohol and any other destructive behaviors. I can do it into like goals and productive stuff, lose myself, which is crazy, and be
100%.
hard on myself and do this self-defeating behavior, which is insane. Like for anyone that's in long-term recovery that's watching, like you're not alone if you've gone through some of these things. We go through these things.
Absolutely. Alex says it perfectly, 100%.
Alex, I've known a long time. Alex has done like the 75 hard and those things and completed them. Those are not easy tasks to do.
No.
I was trying to do it. I attempted at it a few times, but it was when I was filming the show, and it was really hard to film the show in cold places and do an indoor and an outdoor workout with 14 hours. I know that or that the gentleman that Andy Frisilla says no excuses, and I really tried that, but I'm somebody that has to give myself excuses because I can go to the extreme, just like that. Like I was saying, the
Yeah.
beat kind of thing.
100%.
Know
Yeah.
your
It's
know your self.
Correct. Correct.
So I want to talk about, so I've talked about this when we did we did the training, um, with the companion training with Sean, and I kind of had you stand up and highlighted you and talked about you. So Matt is, a, an AA guy, through and through, and loves AA, and had some very strong, had some very strong opinions on like the way things should be, because like we're taught that, right? And there's nothing against that, because that saved my life. That's what saved Matt's life, and it saves many people's lives. So I'm definitely not knocking it. But when you do the work that we do, you have to lose some of that, or you have to shift and open your mind. And Matt, I've watched you, like, you still have your things the way you do them and that work for you. But what you've opened your mind to and the clientele that you've worked with over these past few years has been like a beautiful thing to watch. Like, there's no judgment, there's no shame. Not that you were like that before, but just the fact that you went to this coaching training, they told you all this stuff that you were like, what are they talking about? You're clean when you say you're clean, or you're sober when you say you're sober. But I've just watched you really step into that, and you're able to help so many people because you have, I think.
Well, yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And I think one of the biggest things is I had to learn, you know, the way they described that to me and how they shared, a situation, whether it's someone that was like maybe a hardcore drug user and then maybe they occasionally drink and drinking wasn't their thing. Like I come from an abstinence based program, and that's fine because that's what worked for me. But I'm open to the other things and what people want to do. That's I have to, like we said before, you have to meet the clients where they're at, and provide some suggestions, provide a little bit of your story, but also say like, here's what we're going to work on. And if there's a slip or if there's a setback, as we mentioned before, it's okay. What was the cause of that? What were the motives behind doing what you did, or, saying what you said, and just kind of like examining that to say, okay, if this comes up again, how do we address it? How do we kind of move through that without doing, something that could essentially ruin your life, or essentially kind of take more than a massive setback, or those little things. So it was a very challenging for me, because I, again, and you said like no judgment. I judge myself hard, and I have to remember, it's like I have to remove that judgment. I have to be aware of where people are and just say, hey, like, what really caused this, like, like what's really going on. And
Right.
if this is a consistent thing, or or something that comes up every couple sessions, or you got like a month straight of like solid progress, and then it's like, why did we stop doing certain things? What got in the way, or impeding somebody from actually completing something else. So it's a tough thing, and again, open to all of it. Um,
We don't
you
shame.
know,
We definitely
right?
don't shame. We
No,
pick up the pieces. We hold people accountable. We're very, like, this is, we change and address and make recommendations like when's needed as a team. But like if someone has, is doing really well and they have something that, happens, like we're not gonna say they like ruined everything and you're starting, you don't, we lost our, I don't know. It's just a very different approach, the way that we approach the people we work with on a professional level,
right,
and we're seeing things like, and if we have their buy-in, like, coming in on a professional space, like versus like someone at a meeting, like if we tell them, don't do all this stuff, you're going to die. Like that's not going to work for today's population. Like we have to
right,
connect with them. We have to vibe with them. We have to see where their buy-in is, what they're willing to do. Because if we're going to just expect them to like do all these things and not have any falls, then that's not realistic either. I'm not saying the
right.
fall needs to be a use, but with behavioral things, and
Yeah,
how many times have you rescheduled clients and been accommodating? You know what I mean? It happens so often. Like, what
very
are
frequently.
things along those lines that you would like to chat?
Um, Again, I have a pretty rigid and set schedule, so I think I always try to have time that's free, right? Whether I have to make phone calls or I have to move things around. Like yesterday, right? I had several phone calls for the business side of things, and those were set for in the afternoon, and some things changed in the morning, and just kind of reached out to clients and said, "Are you free now? And can we do this now, where it's not going to make you rush or going to put you out or step away from something that you need to be doing?"
Yeah.
And just kind of rolling with the schedule. And sometimes it's, especially with clients that, like, like, let's just say, like, might miss a session, or don't show up, and then they go ghost. Like, my biggest thing is, first off, is worry and concern, like, are you okay?
Yeah.
You know, in driving somewhere, did something happen? And then, you know, for the most time, it's like, oh my God, I didn't get my alarm, or oh my, you know, I had to work late and I could be on my phone. And those are the things you just kind of have to roll with. And it's, again,
Right.
it's a work in progress, and everybody's a work in progress in how they're doing things. Even if you're new to sobriety or recovery or coaching, or you've been around for a long time. So I think, again, comes back to, I'll probably say this more often than not, but you know, it comes back to meeting a client where they're at.
Yeah. And the progress. And I think, like we talked about at the very beginning, like progress looks different for everyone, you know, and some of our
Correct.
clients where we would be like, oh, that's barely anything. But some of them were like, oh my God, that's like a miracle for
It's a
them.
huge win. Huge win.
Twins. Yeah. So I wanted to go into like the new levels, new next levels or next levels, the topic. So while Matt, you've been with us, well, was us, now it's just me for, you know, since almost the beginning. But as we found out, you know, that Blake was transitioning out, and also probably before then, we were discussing, actually we had discussed because there was some
Yeah.
other investment potential. You were going to be moving in. So you've like Matt, this is the thing I love the most about you, Matt, is you have a successful company. I'm here at your business, right? You have a successful snack bar, Fro Pro, which is amazing, healthy. You have a beautiful office, beautiful team. You have an awesome gym that, you know, people train out of, that you train people out of. But you do this work because you love it. It is your
Mhm.
passion. And
Yeah.
like that you have, even with you starting to work with me, I was like, well, go work with other people too. And you were like, no, I don't want to. And you did one time and you were like, oh, that sucked.
That was rough.
Talk about you kind of where that drive and like what is that, where is that coming from, and like what are you doing and what do you want to do more of? Like I want people to know you like nationally. I think that you're just such an asset, and you took time before you fully stepped in, and I respect and get it, but I feel humbled and grateful that like you want to do this thing with us, with me.
Yeah. Well, like anything else, right? Is building. It's a culture, right? Is building a team, building a culture around what we're doing and why it's important, and finding the right people that fit the right people. And yes, having a variety of different people, different ages, men, women, however you want to say it, to assist in helping people, because a lot of people need help. And I think, you know, for me, I was inspired by a workshop I did in New York City. And you know, I went to this event and there was like 12 other business owners, and we sat down with like a major guy that, you know, I follow and I'm inspired by. And one of the speakers was this chief, well, Gary Vaynerchuk. And one of his speakers, I mean, this woman had retired and she was essentially done because she had like built and been a part of two other separate companies. And his biggest thing is like, I want you to come back and I want you to work with my team because what you do is invaluable. And like, and her position was a chief heart officer. And then she explained what that was and explained how she implemented that, and how, you know, in, you know, this massive office, there's offices all across the country, but in the city, there was, you know, her whole thing was like, my door is always open
Love
and I'm here to help you, whatever, work through some things, some challenges. If you're unhappy with something, how to, you know, correctly identify what that is, and what the cause of that is, and how can we write that. And, you know, and she even said there's some people that, you know, eventually grow out of what they're doing and they have to leave and do something else. So my biggest thing is, you know, we have such a great team of people and contractors that you guys have brought on, and getting to know them. I know some of them, but getting to know them a little better, and kind of figuring out like what drives those people, what incentivizes those people, why are they doing what they're doing, what do they want to do more of, what don't they want to do more of, and really just having like a finely tuned team of people that are like, this person is perfect for this client, and let's try that, and hopefully the client and that person get along. I mean, if you know your team well enough and you kind of have, a lot of the clients have similar issues and
right.
some of the things that they need to address, oh, this would be the perfect person for them, this would be the perfect coach, the perfect companion, the perfect transport. And everybody really thrives at what they're good at, you know, like we know people that, you know, transport, they make the like that, they facilitate such an easy transport. They're easygoing, they're fun to travel with, they're very easy to talk to, and make
Yes.
the process really great. And the same thing goes with coaching and or companion. And you're essentially, I mean, this has been around for, I say like, I mean, this has been around for a long time, but what you created in that kind of level of service, right? I think a lot of people could benefit from it, and a lot of people could be a part of this. And we just, again, want to make sure that, like, for me, I'm involved in the process of building that team, and really essentially being a chief heart officer of, like, here's the culture that we have here at Next Level. Here's where I think you're going to thrive. If I'm off, let me know, so we can figure out if there's something else that you want to be a part of. And just growing, and kind of, again, the same thing is like, everybody's going to be evolving, and people are going to get comfortable, and like, oh, I think I'm really comfortable with this. I think I really want to do that. And even having conversations where people are like, oh, like, I'm not really ready to step into this yet, but I've been thinking about it, and even having that conversation
Where
with
do I
them and saying,
start? What do I do?
correct. And
That's
that,
one we've been super selective. Like, after we were open for a year and we were like building this like list of people that work for us around the country and outside of the country, and we decided we didn't, like, I had worked for a number of people before I started my own, and we decided I want Next Level to be handpicked people, like handpicked special people, hearts of gold, that are pure and like love to do this work, are great at with whatever they're great at. And we don't want to have a massive list. Like, I don't want to have this, hundreds of people in each state or whatever like that. Like, I don't want that. I want to know everyone that works for us. I want to,
right.
be able to ask them, hey, this is a job. It's going to be like a month long and it's going to be with this kind of client. Like, how are you doing? Like, are you comfortable for this right now? Is this good work for you? And if someone says no for us, when we ask them for a job, I always tell them that doesn't mean I'm not going to call you for another job. I mean, if you say no like 15 times, maybe, but it's not going to change. And we wanted to keep this like handpicked. And like, I think that myself, Sarah, and the rest of the team are going to highly benefit from you, working with all of us. Like, I'm already going to utilize you. I already am. So you just being you inspires me regularly. So that's helpful.
Appreciate it. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the opportunity. And so far, as the start of this year, as some transitions have been happening, it's been great getting to know some people who I knew of, but didn't really know, and having those conversations, and what they like to do, what they don't like to do, what could be improved. And really, again, the biggest thing most people want to feel is heard, right?
Right.
And hearing them, and seeing, and again, meeting them where they're at, and providing that structure, that opportunity, and assistance to maximize their potential in whatever they choose to do for Next Level.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, we want to hear, input. That's why, like, there's been this culture of people work with us, not people don't work for me, work with me. And like, I want to, that's the kind of, culture I want to continue to have. Like I said to you, for you and Sarah right now, this first quarter, like, I've told myself to just keep to focus on what I'm good at, which is, being out there, connecting with people, building the business. And like, that's where my, and any other ideas as far as like what needs to be added, shifted, change, that's going to be up to you and Sarah. Like, I want you all to take the lead and tell me what you're seeing, because that's what and then in quarter two, like, I feel like I'll get more of like, okay, this is what I think too. And if I see anything in time, but like right now, I want this opportunity for you and Sarah to tell me what you guys think. And I'll continue to do what I do, and implement some of those things. Cause that's how we get better. You bring people on that are better at things than you. You work with people that are sharper, like the iron sharpens iron. Like, you can only make me and the company better.
Yeah, and that comes down to, it's like any business, right? You have to be able to, like, this is your baby, and you have to be able to delegate, and trust, and really put your faith behind other people that hopefully are aligned with the same thing. So I think even with building my the other business, right? Like, having my wife come in and take over certain things, and like, we set it up a certain way, and then bringing other people on, and saying, like, here's where we're going to train, what do you think about this? And it's been great. It's awesome to watch, right? It's awesome to watch people, like,
Right.
I had a conversation with someone in my other business, and I just said, you know you've been trained for this. And now, once I kind of said that, not that it needed to be said, just like that, just telling me what to do, which is what I want.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is a team, this is your role, what do you think is best? You're the one in charge. And at the end of the day, knowing that if something were to go wrong, or something were to get messed up, or a challenge were to come up, saying, okay, I'm here. This is, as someone that started this, like, this is going to come down on me, and you're doing a great job. And where do I meet this person, and how do we address any issues that come up, and really kind of move forward with it?
Yeah. Team culture and I've worked in corporate, you've worked in corporate, like we've worked in those things. And like something that's super important, and we definitely both align on it, is, being team centered and team focused, and if we're team centered and team focused, we then get to give our clients the best versions of us, right? Like I don't want to
100%.
send somebody out on a long-term companion job that is beat down from whatever they have going on in their personal life. Like that to me is big team centered, Sarah said.
Big focus. Big
Big
team
team
focus.
center kind of guy. Lucy's on here. She's put some hearts. Patricia said, thank
Love
you
it.
for the work that you do. Thank you
Awesome.
for being here. But yeah, just being team centered is like, it's just super important. And I think that there's so many, like the old school methodology and way was like, just people are just numbers and they're replaceable. And like, they're not with us. People are not numbers
Right.
and are not replaceable with us.
Right. 100%.
So anything you would like to add on? Like, so this year, Matt will be out in the public some more, if anyone wants Matt or I for speaking gigs, but Matt is going to be doing, what is the golf tournament called you're doing? The Recovery Open, KC's?
Yeah. So I'll be out in the Winter Leadership Summit in Lake Tahoe in the beginning of March, and then at the end of March we'll be at the Recovery Open out in San Diego and Encinitas. I'm going to go out a couple days early to see some folks and connect with everybody, and just kind of, that's the biggest thing, right? Is like meeting new people along the way, connecting with people that you haven't seen in a while, and just kind of letting people know like, hey, this is what I want to do, and being truly dialed in on that, right? And like, this is why I want to do it. This is my why behind it. This is important to me because and those are the things that it's like, I want people to approach me like, hey, I think it'd be a great fit. Cool, let's figure this out. Why? What about this drives you? What about this excites you? There's going to be days where you're like banging your head against the wall, being like, oh man, I just want this person to get it. And that's okay. And just being like, this is where I'm at. So I think, my biggest thing is this year is helping, propel Next Level as it's been doing and growing, into meeting more people and working with other organizations that, want us to accelerate one of their clients or assist in their clients, and
Right.
just being a part of the process of helping people, achieve a better lifestyle and a better life.
Yeah. So that question you ask people, what drives your passion? I'm gonna put you on the spot.
I always say like what just like fires me up is when you see the light go off, when you see that shift, and it sometimes comes in like a little win, it sometimes comes in a massive win, it sometimes comes in a conversation where they're like, their language changes and they're like, oh wow, I never thought of it that way, and it's that like that clicks, and the light goes off again and you have to kind of relight it and
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of like re-encourage that growth. But that's what drives me, because I didn't want to listen to anyone, family, friends, loved ones, that are, oh dude, you have so much potential and you can do this and you can do that, and like, why are you doing what you're doing, and you're poisoning yourself and you're tearing everything down.
Yeah.
And I wasn't ready to hear it until I was ready to hear it. And thankfully, like, I hit a rock bottom and I lost everything, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially. And that was when I was finally ready to like take some suggestions. So I think, one of the biggest things, for me is watching that light go off and watching people realize that they can tap into that potential and they can tap into what drives them, and they get fired up about life and whatever they're doing, whether it's school, whether it's fitness, whether it's health, whatever it is, they finally see a chance, or they finally see it as a possibility.
Yeah.
And I love that. And that was the thing that, like, when I was a teacher and you taught a concept, and a kid couldn't get it and didn't do well on the test. And all of a sudden, boom, it clicked. And they're like, oh, I get this now. And you're like, ah, that's great.
I actually thought of on this Zoom. I thought about it with Danielle too. You both are former teachers. I think that like I should have you guys learn how to be educational consultants, because that's a huge branch of behavioral health. And because you have the level of education you do, you're actually probably ahead of most of them. So that's something I want to talk to you about too.
Yeah,
Separately.
that was
Yeah.
the crazy thing. Like, I never thought I'd be in a classroom again. And I had some teacher friends that were like, hey, can you come and talk about kind of your story? Sometimes like the kids were a little younger and I had to like dial it down so it wasn't intense.
Yeah.
But, I've
Yeah.
spoken to kids, and
I did the parent like career day. That was fun
Mhm.
to talk to first graders on what I do. Oh, my mommy drinks too much. I'm like, oh God, we're gonna
Right. No, I mean, and that's the thing.
talk
It's like
about
I've
an addiction to like first graders, and what I
yeah,
did for a living. It was hard, but I made it work.
but yeah, and that's the thing. It's like connecting and again being truthful. I mean, they're younger people, but they experience things. I talked to one of my buddies' fifth graders, and it was like a business entrepreneurship class, and I came in and talked about FroPro and different things. And my biggest question, I was like, I asked. It was the craziest thing, and I think I have footage on it somewhere, but just of me talking because like didn't want to broadcast the classroom. But I asked these kids, I was like, one of the biggest questions is like, what's your biggest fear? And kids were like, "Oh, spiders, snakes," and one kid was like, "Failure," and I was like,
Oof, that's
and then
insane.
another kid was like, "I'm actually afraid of success. Like, what if I can't keep getting it?" And I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, just kind of hearing those things, and some obviously more people are, people can be where they're at, and you have to meet them there, but you don't know what they're truly or where they're at. Like you said, we have to figure out where we're at unless you ask those questions. And
Yeah,
like we know where we want to go, but like where are you at right now? How's that working for you? Is where you're at right now eventually going to lead where you want to go? And I think there's a lot of things I didn't understand getting sober, about life that I had to ask people that I trusted enough to be like, hey, how do I do this? Because I never really learned.
yeah.
And for the most part,
Still
people,
learning. Like the
yeah,
longer you stick around and the more work you do on yourself, you realize, oh my God, there's so much more to do. Like, and
right,
that's actually a kind of a comfort place for me now. Like, this is a journey, not a destination. Like, I used to think, like, not with recovery, but with other things, they were going to be dealt with and done and like kind of put in this box. Like, oh, I dealt with that and I handled that. That's just not reality. It's dealt
right.
with and handled for
It's
now.
one of
Moving.
my, you just said that's like one of my favorite lyrics that I tattooed it on my body. So life's a journey, not a destination.
Yes, very, very true. Um, so what is the thing? What I know you have the big calendar, but like, what is one thing for people like Matt? Owns this company, coaches multiple clients, is now dealing with managing our clients, helping us build the business, has the gym and has training clients, is an MC at big, workout events and host a charity. So how do you how do you find your balance and not get overwhelmed? Because you always seem to have a kind of I'm sure you have moments of overwhelm, but like whenever I see you, it's kind of like a chill, even keeled kind of dude. Like,
Yeah,
how
I
do you?
think full disclosure, I burned myself out in sobriety, like you said, trying to be everywhere, do everything. And really, for myself being like, no's a full sentence. And really realizing when my battery is low or I'm starting to, not respond the way I want to. I'm a big breathing and prayer guy. And I
Big
think,
prayer guy, Sarah. You hear
yeah.
that? Big, huge.
So I think, I still think, my morning, sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's slower, but it's like truly focusing on the things that I've been taught to do since I got sober, prayer, breathing, meditation, journaling, just kind of getting my mind right and usually getting, like I said, what's that? Like in here and in here on paper, kind of sometimes it's a page, sometimes it's a paragraph. And
Yeah.
then just kind of focusing on like those things that, if I am feeling those ways, why am I feeling like this? Am I trying to control something? Am I afraid? It usually for me has to do with being afraid of, again, not getting something I want or losing something I think I have control over.
Yes.
Um, so it really is one of those things where I have to, if and again, I have an awesome wife who's like, hey, like, what's going on? Like
Yeah.
you're a little, what is that? And not responding with like, I'm fine, but like responding with, yeah, let me take a look at that. So I have a lot of really great people in my life that can hold me accountable. And I think that's important for others. And I know in early sobriety, it's tough because, you sometimes feel so alone and isolated and, shame, embarrassment, and all those things that go along with like starting over. So I think it really is important to kind of, for me to, again, an inventory of like, am I doing too much? And even one of the guys that I call and I tell him, he's like, hey man, why don't we pump the brakes a little bit? Why don't you take a minute? And
Yeah.
again, with the new calendar, putting it out there, it's like, here's time. And like looking at this, it's like, okay, I don't need to plan anything here. Let me just have that time free. Because there's a lot of things I want to do and that
Right.
come up last minute because people don't operate how I operate. And like, I can't because I'm already booked. So I think, between I know what I have to do for my business, I know what I have to do for my self care, i.e., the gym, workouts, cold, ice barrel, like cold exposure, recovery stuff.
You
Even
have
going
some
to
non-negotiables though, that are self-care.
correct. Yeah.
Like, so from what you said, I heard self-care, connecting with self, heart, pen to paper, and I heard surrounding yourself with good, solid people. And
Yeah.
that takes time, and that takes
100%.
we shared that. We both have had we both have expected people in life to move how we move, and that's not the way it is. And that's a really hard reality to come to sometimes. Like, not everyone's going to be as pure hearted as I am. Not everyone's going to have the same investment in the relationship than I do, and I know that you feel like I do in that realm. And now we've accepted it, and we're grateful for the this tight knit group that we have, and we still can show up. And actually, when niching it down a little bit, you actually get more time to love on yourself and spreading yourself than for relationships that aren't genuine.
Amen to that.
No time for that. So we'll look for more of Matt and I this year. We're going to be doing some different things. We're setting up some team events for us. We're doing some big things this year for Next Level. So I just have to say, from the bottom of my heart, I'm so humbled and so grateful for you in my life. One, for you being with me on this journey since the very beginning, and for you stepping into and saying, hey, Amanda, I want to do more, and I want to help you grow this, and I want to invest more, and I want, and you seeing a vision of this path for yourself. And like I told you, tell me what you want to do, and like, let's just do it, and that means the world to me, because you're somebody that I admire and look up to, and that you want to do this thing with me is like super humbling and awesome.
And likewise, it's been awesome to watch or know you for the years that I've known you, and watch what you're doing and kind of pivoting on certain things, and getting dealt some things that watching you overcome them and the challenges. It's been awesome to watch, and I'm just grateful to be on the team, and you giving me this opportunity. And I think we're going to help. We've helped a lot of people, and I think we'll continue to do so.
Yes, I'm very excited. I went from fear and abandonment and lost to like super pumped in a matter of just a few weeks. And I really have like the team and my support system to thank for that, because it was a rough hit, on one day to find out like, oh, you're not getting invested in, oh, your partner's leaving. I was like, what the hell am I going to do? But I spiraled in that for a little bit. I remember working out with Phil, and I'm just sitting in his garage crying, like pushing the weight. And he's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I don't even know. It's just all coming out. And like, that's the thing I I allow myself to feel that crap today. I allow myself to process. And sometimes it doesn't have to have words with it. It could just be feelings, but in a matter of a short amount of time, like, I feel like we're better, stronger, more committed, more ready to do, like, I think this is like the best place we've been in a long time. And I'm super pumped about that. And that is directly because of like you and Sarah and the team,
Awesome.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
All right, so I'll come over to the office and hang out with you now, and we'll talk.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, how do people find you, Matt, real quick? Sorry.
You can find me on Instagram, MWAR Williams, or at ProPro Snacks, or at Wake Up the Sun Show, I think. But yeah, I always tell people, like, if you're struggling or someone else is struggling, or if I can lend an ear or help you find some direction, I throw it out there. My cell is 914-772-6343.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being you, Matt Williams. Thanks,
awesome.
everybody.
I appreciate you.
Your comments and the love. We appreciate you.
Have a most triumphant day.
Triumphant day. Big triumphant.